You know that feeling when you just stare up at the night sky and suddenly you're completely overwhelmed by the sheer scale of everything? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a truly fascinating subject: how humanity navigates its biggest mysteries through the structured lens of four major world religions. If you've ever paused and wondered why literally billions of people across the globe turn to faith, well, we're going to look at the historical and psychological blueprints of these belief systems. We'll explore the data and concepts from our source material to see exactly how these frameworks actually operate.
All right, here's our agenda for today. We're looking at 1. The universal human search, 2. Buddhism, finding inner peace, 3. Christianity, love and salvation, 4. Islam, discipline and submission, 5. Hinduism, karma and universe, and finally, 6. Why we seek meaning. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The Universal Human Search, or Seeking Answers to Life's Mysteries.
So long before modern science or, global connectivity even existed, since the very dawn of human civilization, we've basically all stood looking out into the void and asked ourselves the exact same massive, unanswerable questions. Just think about your own curiosity regarding your origins. Who am I? Where did I come from? This shared innate need for context, this drive to understand our place in the cosmos, is literally the foundation where religion was born. It's a psychological baseline uniting every single culture on Earth.
And then, of course, there's the ultimate mystery, right? What happens after death, and what is the actual meaning of life? Let's be honest, when confronted with our final destination, the sheer weight of the unknown can trigger a ton of very real human anxiety. So to cope, billions of us turn to these structured spiritual maps to find comfort, to find purpose, and to find tangible answers to the deepest mysteries of our existence.
Moving on to Section 2, Buddhism, finding inner peace.
So, our first major spiritual map originated with Gautama Buddha. And what's super interesting is he was actually born a prince, but he famously abandoned his luxurious, completely sheltered royal life after witnessing the harsh, unavoidable realities of aging, sickness, and death out in the real world. From that profound shock, he diagnosed our existential pain with a concept called dukkha. Rather than, just ignoring the hard parts of life, Buddhism states that human life intrinsically contains suffering, and it identifies our constant craving and desire as the root cause of that suffering. It's a remarkably direct psychological observation of the human condition.
But the great thing is, Buddhism doesn't just diagnose the problem and leave you hanging. It offers a highly practical solution. It teaches that while life definitely contains suffering caused by desire, that suffering can absolutely end. The structured toolkit it provides for this is called the Eightfold Path. And what's really key here is how this framework heavily prioritizes practical mind training and personal discipline, rather than demanding blind belief.
So, what's the actual human benefit of all this mental discipline? Well, practitioners actively gain profound mental clarity and self-control. And the reward for all this intense inner focus is a deep, lasting freedom from everyday stress and endless desire. It's essentially an ancient, highly effective toolkit for mental stability.
All right, Section 3, Christianity, love and salvation.
Shifting gears from inner mental mastery, we find a path based on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, who lived among ordinary people to actively preach kindness, empathy, and forgiveness. This foundation is built squarely on unconditional love. The core teachings center on the belief in one God and Jesus as the Son of God. But practically speaking, for the everyday follower, it teaches that ultimate salvation is achieved not just through deep faith, but through the active daily practices of love and forgiveness toward others.
And what do followers actively gain from this framework? Immense emotional comfort. By practicing unconditional love, they cultivate peace. By holding on to the hope for eternal life, they mitigate that paralyzing fear of death we talked about earlier. And, crucially, by gathering around these shared beliefs, followers build strong communities that provide a deeply rooted, sustaining sense of belonging. It's incredibly powerful.
Next up, Section 4, Islam, discipline and submission.
Now, moving on to an entirely different framework. Islam was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad via divine revelations that eventually formed the holy book known as the Quran. This map provides a comprehensive, incredibly structured way of life. It's rooted in the belief of one God, Allah, and recognizes Muhammad as the final prophet. But notice the emphasis here. The Quran isn't just some abstract philosophical text. It provides crystal clear, actionable moral guidelines and heavily emphasizes principles of social justice and dedicated submission.
The psychological gain from this approach is, well, incredibly grounding. The structured discipline translates directly into strong moral values in everyday life. The focus on social justice fosters a highly resilient family structure, and that core feature of submission, it gives believers a powerful, unified spiritual purpose to wake up to every single day.
That brings us to Section 5, Hinduism, Karma, and the Universe.
Unlike the other pillars we've discussed, this belief system is truly ancient. And surprisingly, it developed organically over thousands of years without a single, defined founder. It introduces karma, the universal law of cause and effect, where your actions directly determine your life outcomes. And it pairs this with moksha, which is the ultimate goal. Moksha is achieving total liberation from the continuous cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
So this structure offers an incredibly expansive explanation of the universe itself. It embraces multiple forms of God, but what's really distinct here is how it views time. Unlike a straight timeline from birth to eternity, life here is a continuous loop. The forces of karma continuously dictate your destiny through endless cycles of rebirth, until that ultimate liberation, moksha, is eventually achieved. The real-world psychological anchor here is profound. By adopting this life philosophy, followers gain a deeply complex spiritual understanding of their place in the world. The concept of karma allows for a real philosophical acceptance of one's destiny and life circumstances, kind of easing the burden of that age-old why me question. And the belief in continuous rebirth fosters an intimate, lifelong connection with the whole cosmic order of the universe. Finally, Section 6, Why We Seek Meaning, the Unifying Roof.
Now that we've analyzed these 4 beautifully complex pillars, we really need to zoom out for a second. Why do we construct these maps in the first place? Whether it's to conquer our paralyzing fear of the unknown and death, to find clear moral guidance for our daily actions, or honestly, just to satisfy the basic human need to connect with others in a community, religion fulfills incredibly universal psychological needs. It's essentially our collective attempt to find inner peace in a pretty chaotic world. And as you can see, while each map offers uniquely different tools, Buddhism offers mastery of the mind, Christianity offers love, Islam offers structural discipline, and Hinduism offers cosmic philosophy, they all stand on equal footing. They are all valid, historical responses to the exact same human condition.
Because there is simply no scientific way to definitively prove a best religion, we must remember the core takeaway from our source material here. These are deeply personal journeys of understanding. They are frameworks meant to support the human mind and spirit. They are not arenas for conflict or competition.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to reflect on as we close out this explainer. Since we now see that religion is a shared, universal search for answers, driven by the exact same human needs, how will you consciously choose to respect the unique paths that others are walking? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and keep asking those big questions.